Right. Okay. Now, looks pretty easy. 10 chapters and you're done. So, not sure why you're so concerned about this. Right? Looks very easy to me. Well, so analyzing and managing costs and so on. So the first, what we're gonna do is try to, I've got here the past cards. So what I want to go through very quickly is some of the key areas and also jump into questions, right? And see how we are faring with the questions. So let's say now analyze and managing costs. Basically, you're looking at TQM, just in time, theory of constraints. These are the key things that you're looking at, kind of theories. And then for good measure, of course, they'll put ABC. And we've also got continuous improvement, Kaizen, cost of quality reporting. Now, have you guys ever experienced any one of these in the real life scenario?
Me, a bit of ABC costing in my company.
Right. Okay.
Exploring ways to do it, but we haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar. Been trying to sort of implement some sort of costing for overheads and trying to use ABC for the service industry. So
Right.
trying to do it.
Right. Okay. What about TQM and just in time, theory of constraints, any of those?
No. I
No,
just studied
no.
them.
Right.
Yeah, same. I've just seen the theory.
Right. Theory aspect of it, which gets really boring and then you want to fall asleep, right? Yeah. So just talking about the TQM just in time, I mean, these two those two key things for you as a company to develop. What do you think? I mean, forget about a lot of the theory aspects of it, but there's a little bit of relationship that needs to come through, right? Because let's say you're a manufacturer and you are basically wanting certain raw material, right? And if you want it just in time, then you need to have a very good relationship with your suppliers, right? I mean, this is one of the key things that plays a significant role in the TQM just in time kind of philosophies, because if you have a situation where you as a manufacturer does not have that kind of a relationship or the strategic partnership with that manufacturer, you're not going to go very far with your TQM just in time, right? Honda is pretty good at doing this. So if you look at Honda, you will see how they develop even their suppliers, right? Because sometimes your supplier is a very niche supplier and a small supplier, not a massive big company. So you may need to develop this supplier, right? And that they do pretty well. Any examples that come to mind?
No.
So let's go into TQM. Let's see. Okay, they're talking about activity-based management, ABC. So tell me, Bansi, what are you guys doing with ABC?
No, we just try to use ABC to find out what really to price some products in our company. We deal with waste. So we try to price some products in our company and try to find out what really drives those costs to put the right ingredients in to find the right cost.
So you're looking at the cost drivers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to link ABC as well into your value chain. Right. So I'm going to link these two and see whether you understood the value chain concept very well. By the way, did you understand the value chain concept?
No, not really. Not well. Not well.
Okay, fine. Because I'm going to bring in again an example in the. I'm going to give you access to even the strategic case studies, right? Because there was one case study they were all over value chain in that, and I think it's a good thing that we can talk about value chain there. And value chain used to drive me bonkers, really. Could not figure out for the world, right? I couldn't understand till much later on that thankfully once I passed the exams that I really understood what value chain is. So it's important, but it's pretty important for you to understand what value chain is. So I'll link the ABC and value chain. What about you, Elaine? How do you guys use ABC?
It's previously someone had set up a sort of ABC costing for our services and things that we offer to our clients. We've had a few sort of major changes and our overheads have increased, so we've been trying to find a way to apportion overheads that we can accurately price our products and services correctly. And it's activity based I'm not sure if it's going to really make sense to do it that way at the moment.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, in a service industry, right?
Yeah, service industry. Yeah, so we offer it's outplacement support and career transition so it's the sort of programs are quite specific to each sort of company and person. So it's difficult to determine those.
Right. So I want to go with the easier industry. That's the waste industry. Let's start with Bensi because I want to have an industry in a company where I can link both ABC and value chain, right?
Yeah.
So Bensi, can you give me a little bit about the company? I don't need the name of the company, but I want what is the activity? How do you earn money? And what business you're in? How do you earn money? What are the inputs? What are the expenses? Key ones, so that then we can look at it.
Yeah, no, I work for BIA. It's a Sharjah-based company. It's actually a public-private partnership between Governor Sharjah and some prominent individuals in Sharjah. So it's more or less it is a public company, but for the sake of governance, it's the term public-private partnership.
Right.
So we are taking over we have actually taken over the work of the Sharjah municipality in keeping the city clean and in collection of waste. So that makes us a private municipality kind of set.
Right.
So we collect household waste. We manage the landfills. We recycle waste, and we produce finished goods, which is just actually unprocessed recycled material, and we sell them.
Right.
So we get our monies through fees from the government of Sharjah for doing the service, and also from the sale of recyclables.
Right. So you get kind of a grant, is it, from the Sharjah?
It's actually a fixed fee every month for a set of services, and then anything on top of that, they ask us to do other municipalities within the Emirate of Sharjah. We get extra fees.
Right. So basically you get a kind of a fixed fee from the government, then you also, that's your income, right? And you also get unprocessed, so by selling this unprocessed recycled material to your some of the parties, the buyers, you get income from there, right? Any other income?
We also do environmental consultancy for it. So we have qualified people who advise companies in Sharjah on how to dispose their waste, hazardous waste safely.
Yes.
And they charge fees for that also. They do technical or chemical analysis of their waste, and they guide how to dispose of their waste as per the municipality guidelines.
Right. Okay. And what are your expenses? What are your key expenses?
the more than 50, almost 50 to 60% expenses is people costs because we have a
Okay.
huge workforce. We have a huge workforce, laborers, drivers, so the blue collar plus the admin staff. The total number of employees is close to 4,000.
Right.
So that's the number one expense. The second expenditure is vehicle related expenditure. So that's we have a huge fleet of vehicles to collect waste and to transport waste. So we have all vehicle related expenditures, vehicle and heavy equipment related expenditures. So that itself, those two items itself take about 80% of the cost.
Right. Okay, fine. Let's work with this, right? So what we're saying is we have got huge 60% of the cost is our labor. So just even a percentage or two improvement is gonna give you a good return, right? And also the vehicles. So if you're looking at your activity based costing, right? What are the key activities that drive the cost?
Um,
So I have 4,000 staff.
yeah.
What do they do?
The labor stuff, I think the blue collars, they do everything from collecting waste to sweeping the streets to driving these machines out on the streets to collect the waste and so there's mechanized and manual work.
Right.
So the workforce, the blue collar workforce, they do the mechanized, they do the manual work, and then
Yes.
we have blue collars who operate equipment and do the mechanized work. The same thing, sweeping on the
Yes.
streets, for example.
Yes. So how
Right.
do you know that for to do this particular activity, let's say sweeping the streets or cleaning the streets, this is the do you have a particular number of people that you should have, and do you have KPIs linked to this as well?
We don't have KPIs right now. They haven't been set up yet.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk recently in the last couple of years about setting up KPIs, but we haven't set up. These workforces was set up by some expats who collaborated in starting the company 7 years ago. But I don't know the basis on how they decided Sector 1 needs these many people, Sector 2 needs that many people. And it's just been, as of now, a lot of operations are handled by locals, and I think they just go by the gut. They look at it and see, are
Correct.
the streets clean enough? Are the streets clean enough? Let's just
Yeah,
put another
yeah.
10 people.
Okay.
So this is an important part. This is where most of the municipality come for checks. Let's put another 100 people there. Make sure
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
Not scientific right now.
Yes. So do you guys make a profit?
Oh yes, we do. Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing that where when so let me say a good profit, or your profit margins are pretty tight up, or is it there's a lot of room?
No, it's well, it used to be better a couple of years ago. It's getting tighter because of the addition of admin staff.
Right.
There's a lot of admin staff.
Right. The
So
reason I'm asking you this is because, like, if I go into a, let's say, a company like, industry like supermarkets, right? Supermarkets, the margins are pretty low, right? 2-3%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I go into something like an airline, if you're having 4% margin, you're fantastic. You're top of the world, right? So, in your case, your industry, what's the kind of margin for waste?
I don't know about other companies, but we are doing it around 12 to 14%.
Right. So basically you're looking at a double digit, but also because you have not had those kind of scientific ways, or KPIs linked to certain things. Now this is where you could do much better, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So you can see why I'm driving at. I'm seeing, do you have KPIs? No, not sure. I have got 100 people. What are they doing? Right. So for activity-based costing, these kind of things are, these questions need to be answered. What are the things that drive the cost? Right. So if we are seeing well, I've got new roads coming up, or I've got a new community that I'm setting up. That's going to drive the cost, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at certain things and saying, well, I'm going to set up a new university, big university campus, grounds is coming up. That's going to drive your cost, right? And do you collect money as well from these areas, or that's a separate thing that the government does and gives you a grant?
I forgot to say that one part of it is the municipal waste collection, for which we get a fee from the government.
Yes.
There is a commercial arm that collects waste from companies where the municipality doesn't service them. So
Right.
we have places in Dubai and Sharjah, and now in Abu Dhabi also, where we have individual contracts with companies, and we collect waste, and then therefore we collect fees directly from them.
Right. So I'm saying there's a huge opportunity for you to improve on your labor, right? Where you can say, what are these guys doing? Why do we need to have 50? Why can't we have 30? Right? But since you've not got KPIs set up, it's difficult to answer that, to see, what are they supposed to do? Right? Yeah. And then if I look at your admin staff, how efficient are they? What do they do? Right?
There's another thing that complicates the whole situation. But I don't think we can discuss that in costing. It's called politics.
Yes, that's a
Even if you find efficiencies or inefficiencies especially, you can't actually do anything about it, because it has to go through a lot of red tape, and it eventually comes back rejected, because it's somebody who's sitting there, and therefore he cannot be. So that's another thing that cannot be discussed. I mean, because that doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, that will come in your case study, right? This is a very good thing for your case study, because in a country or any country, there are certain things. In theory, it will look perfect, but try implementing it, you cannot.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
So that's real life, and you have to face with it, and then you have to deal with that situation appropriately, because you cannot just like that change, and that is about stakeholder management, right? So, but anyhow, even admin, where you can say improve the processes. Say, for example, if I talk about in your HR, right? How many people are there, and what do they do? What's driving? Why do you have 15 people in HR? What is driving that cost, right? So I'll give you an example here. At one time I was working with Etisalat many years ago. Now at that time, Etisalat, what the policy was, they used to give benefits, right, to the staff. The benefits are, you get housing, the company provides it. They will not give you an allowance. The company also will give you furniture, right? They will buy it for you. Go and you can buy this furniture, right? But they have certain furniture people that you go and buy it from. Now this has been the practice for so many years, 20 plus years. But when Do came in, only then they started thinking of doing things differently, right? Suddenly I have got competition. I mean, this was like crazy for them, right? They were like, wow, everything is going to go pear-shaped overnight. Just one competitor, right? So they were never used to this kind of competition. But what they then looked at their own business and said, why are we giving allowances? Why aren't we giving allowances? Let them resolve where they want to stay. Because of the principle of sorting accommodation for people, their furniture, etc., there was an army of people in HR who was handling it.
Yeah.
Did it add value? Absolutely none, right? So this is the thing, when you look at costing, you look at things and you question and say, does it really add value to my business? right? And it really doesn't. Because somebody followed it for the past 20 years, you just carry on without questioning, right? And the worst thing is, imagine this, we have all expats here, right? 90%. And then we get all these guys moving in and out of the accommodation. We have to, at Etisalat, they have to manage that. They have to manage the furniture, get rid of the furniture, right? All these things they have to manage. Right? So you can see it was a whole industry that was, it was a whole kind of a thing that was created for actually adding nothing to the business. I mean, were they creating telecommunication products? If they were, that was fantastic. Were they adding to some value to the customers? No, they weren't. Right? So similarly, when you're looking at your activity-based costing, what then you identify what are the activities that are really adding value, what are the ones that are not adding value. So when you start asking those questions, you will say, what are these staff doing here? Really, what do they do? Right? You're not going to be the most popular guy.
It gets asked in our company every 6 months or so. Somebody comes and asks that, and then it creates a bit of a hype for a couple of weeks, and then dies down again. It happens. It happens every now and then.
Yeah, and especially when it is a government company, as there's government involved. It is a difficult thing,
It's funny that they even pay money to consultants to come and tell us the same things that we know. And they ask the same questions that we've always asked, and then again become hype for a couple of weeks, and pay them for it, and then dies down again.
Yeah. So,
funny.
Elaine, we've got a business proposition there. We should become consultants to Benz's organization.
Yeah, we have tons of them. We have tons of consultants.
Sounds lucrative.
Sounds very lucrative business, right? But again, guys, this is very, very normal, because I had one of my friends who said the same thing. She said, we were paying so much to consultants. I moved out and I consulted to my own company, and suddenly they started listening to me.
Okay.
It's like, it's hilarious. But we do come across that. And that, again, with consultants, there is a reasoning for this. Okay, why consultants are brought in? Because, there is no bias at that point, right? Because your outsider is coming in, and even though you know it, you bring that outsider because there's no bias, and what the outsider says, the others in the organization may listen and buy into that idea. But
it's almost, there's no repercussion for the consultant to say it. But if you were internal and they didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of a, again, trying to manage the stakeholders. Even though you know it, you have to engage them and send that communication across in a different way, use a different channel of communication, right? Mm-hmm. So what about you, Elaine, when it comes to activity-based costing, where do you guys struggle?
We're an affiliate of an American company, so we have a percentage that we pay for a royalty each month on all revenue that we generate.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes they refer companies to us. They have global agreements with certain international companies, so that we provide all outplacement support for them in the region.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, we pay a percentage. So about 23% of our revenue goes directly to there. So our margins are getting tighter and tighter because they're dictating what our revenue is. So it's trying to manage our overheads a bit better and our costs to know what we can offer for a program to an individual and how we can generate some sort of revenue for ourselves within that program.
Yeah, and again, your margins, are they in double digits or single digits?
Double digits at the moment, but it is getting tighter,
Yeah.
especially the global programs, the margins are coming down.
Yeah.
The international companies want to drill us down to lower revenue for a program. So
Right. Yeah.
so- and I don't think they appreciate quite how expensive Dubai is for certain things. So our rates are quite low in comparison to other places. So.
Yeah. So where is your expenses mostly?
Our expenses is consultants. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
We're a very small company. We've only 4 employees in
Yes.
the company. The
Yeah.
rest, another 10, 12 consultants that come in and consult and deliver our programs for us.
Right.
So to keep the consultants, the rates keep going up for
Right.
them, and then overheads like rent and salaries for the rest of us are
Right.
the big
So
costs.
these consultants, when you say outplacement services, they what sort of things are they?
It's individuals that are going through career transition. So they've been made
Right.
redundant by a company.
Yeah.
They come to us and we provide services to help
Yeah.
with CV,
Yeah.
interview skills, things like that. So
Right.
the consultants are delivering that, working on their CV and
Right.
the
Yeah.
sort of coaching
So
aspect.
yeah. So if again you're looking at if your key expenses are the consultants, and then you are looking at what do these consultants actually deliver, right?
Yeah.
So it may be it's a case of I'm being just creative here and just saying what actually does the consultants, I've got 10 consultants, let's say, what do they do, right?
Yeah.
And then you will say, right, I mean you guys are paying per hour, right? So
Yes, we are.
so there are certain things that these consultants do, for example, which maybe you can say, right, these can be taken out because these can be done by somebody who is based overseas, right? I don't need these guys to do this, right?
Yeah.
So you actually strip down what the consultant will do face to face, right?
Yeah.
So this is again you're from an activity based costing. Now you're looking at actually what activity does this guy perform, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're in a position to see how can I basically get the best out of this person, because this person is very expensive because the person is based in Dubai,
Yeah.
right? But what part of face to face is more important to me, right? So
Yeah.
that could be a way of looking at things and saying how, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to understand how do you kind of analyze this cost, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're saying, okay, how do I analyze cost? Because consultant, so there's no way.
Yeah, it's like the sort of integral part to delivering our service. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So, and going back to Bensie's example. Now, Bensie, you mentioned vehicle-related costs. Also, it's a big thing, right? Now,
Yep.
vehicles. Do you guys own the vehicles?
Yes, we do. All the entire fleet is ours.
Right. So there again, you do the maintenance, etc., purchasing, all that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there again is an opportunity where you can think, well, do I really need to own this? Okay. I have a student who runs a very successful business, like an Uber. What he does is he rents yachts and luxury cars. Right? He's a very young bloke, and he told us about this, and in class he told us about his business. I said, geez, this is amazing, right? And the thing is, this kind of stuff he could never do anywhere else, because this is like in Monaco, right? People come here, they want to have this kind of the Middle Eastern experience, the Dubai experience. So even if you don't do it in let's say in the UK or wherever it is, you say, right, let's hire a yacht, go out for like half a day or full day, fancy yacht. This guy has it. He does not own. He has connections with the people who own yachts. Right? And the thing is, because of his relationship with these guys, he's very careful with the yachts. He knows who comes in. He knows the type of people, the clientele, and also the yacht comes with the crew. So he says, I don't have to worry about it. The yacht has its crew. Right? So he runs a fantastic business where he gets the clients, and the clients listen to this. He uses social media extensively. Facebook, that's all he uses. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how he runs his business, and he says most of the business comes through referrals. Right? Again, very Uber-like experience, and he's utilized the cost and thought of the cost very well, because he generally doesn't spend on unnecessary stuff. Right? So in your case, Bensi, when I look at the vehicles and related heavy equipment vehicles, these are very expensive stuff, right?
That's right, yeah. That's $500,000 to $1 million and $1,250,000
Yeah.
per vehicle, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a case of more and more you spend more. Then you have to have a maintenance department. You need to have the administration staff to manage that. Lots of things.
Yeah, we have about 700 to 800 of them.
Yeah.
Just heavy equipment, and sweepers and compactors.
Yeah.
And we have a workshop just dedicated to that. Yeah.
Exactly. So then you need to ask your question. Well, is my business vehicle maintenance, or is my business waste collection and recycling? Right? Because you having 700-800 vehicles with a average cost of let's say 700,000, right? It's a sizable figure.
That's right, yeah.
Right? So you can have a separate business doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where you need to understand, well, what business am I in? Right? And again, in case studies, these things come about because you see where the famous thing is where the companies buy out in IT companies. They try to buy into IT companies because that IT company is very good or specializes in big data or something like that. But then you need to understand and ask the question: are you in that business? Because your thinking is completely different to that of a IT company, the way they run it. Yeah. So you can see how I'm looking at different costs, right? And seeing how you can actually, by actually, the ABC is pretty good because it kind of gets you to ask those difficult questions, right? But implementation is very difficult.
Yeah.
For the very aspects of that you mentioned, right? So if I look at value chain as well, value chain is I'm looking at each segment.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. So I'm looking at each
yes.
segment of my operation or support activities and seeing what adds value. Right? What adds value to my business, and taking out all non-value adding activities, because that's the way that I can increase the margin. Right? Just now, Elaine, I just told you how you could increase your margin, looking at the products that you offer, and then looking at how you can dissect it and see, what each consultant gives you, how can you see, is it possible you can give it to another party, right, who can give it to you at a much lower rate? For example, I'm saying creating a LinkedIn profile. That's one of the services that you will do, right? Now,
Yes, yeah.
why would the person here, why can't somebody else sitting in, let's say, in Philippines or in India, in a lower cost base economy, why can't they do it? They can do it, of course, right? It's the person, and then you can have a conversation with that person, say, yeah, can they do it? Of course, right? So you can think of things in creative ways of reducing cost and adding value, and then increasing your margin, right? Now if you look at the last line here, ABC approach is to relate the cost of support activities to cost drivers. That is, these support activities, why are they there in the first instance? How are they adding value, right? How does it increase our costs, right? Any examples that you guys can come up with? Anything? Say, for example, if you are going to scale up your business, right? What are the things that will go up along with your business?
For us, it's almost invariably people costs and vehicle costs.
So people cost in what sense? Okay, I can understand people cost, the people who are cleaning.
Yeah.
Because of course. But if you try to tell me, well, I'm going to increase my business 30%, but proportionately my admin staff needs to increase, your CEO will ask you, are you crazy? Right?
Yeah.
So there has to be a way where when you scale up your business, direct cost is something that where you need to increase, but your support cost, if you're trying to increase, there's something radically wrong. This is where you need to automate. This is where you need to come up with various ways of increasing, innovative ways of doing things. Now, there's a good example with Apple here, where Tim Cook was the CEO. He had told his sales guys, well, you need to increase your sales, given a target of 10 billion or something, very big figure, and said, yeah, that's okay, we can do it, but we need to proportionately increase our sales staff and supporting activities by X%. And that's what the guy said. Mm-hmm. So Tim Cook says, no, guess what? You're going to have the same structure as what you got now, and then you're going to increase, right? So this debate went for like 6 months, and somehow they finally figured out a way to actually take that mental block off and think outside the box and then create the value, right? And they achieved it. Right. So that's the kind of thing that for any business, this is what, with this cost analysis, all these, whatever you may call it, activity-based management, activity-based costing, all these things, they are looking at how can we add value, and especially when you're scaling up, right? Can I scale up without proportionally adding cost? Because this is where you will look at, well, your admin staff can't increase just because I increase my sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can see they talk about cost per unit, and in this graph, the volume increasing, right? the volume cost, the total cost. How can you interpret this graph? I'm asking you guys too many questions, right?
As the volume increases, the cost per unit comes down.
So,
Up to a certain point,
yeah,
and then it goes up again. But is
yeah,
that because of step? Is that because of step costs? I'm not
correct.
sure.
Yeah, you get step up costs as well, right?
Yeah.
So short-term variable costs that vary with production volumes, right? But long-term variable costs often support activities that vary according to the range and complexity of the production. Sometimes, when I increase more than a certain percentage, I need to go for a step up, right? That's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know about cost drivers, whatever it is that's driving that cost. It of course helps. ABC helps its pricing strategy, make or buy decisions. Tell me something about a make or buy decision in ABC costing. Any examples that you can think of? Make or buy decision, or outsourcing, or in having it in house, anything like that.
Yeah, we did a make or buy exercise. I think about 5 years ago to decide whether we had to rent from Al-Bahar the heavy equipment for Al-Bahar or buy it.
Right. Oh, okay, that's
And we did.
interesting. Yeah.
That study did actually point that it would be better to rent to meet our needs actually at that time. But the philosophy I think changed later when some changes were made in management and people thought that the best way to build up a company is actually to build up with assets also. Ignoring the efficiency of operations. And for a long time it was like that till recently. And I think that was stuck because the top management thinks that it's a waste to pay people or pay companies for equipment, and we should have our own fleet and build up our fixed asset space. That's so that changed, and then it was no longer a profit decision. It was or an efficiency decision. It was also something much more than that. So we're back to buying now.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, it's not purely driven on profit and the best way of doing things and efficiencies. There's a lot of other things that we are supposed.
Correct.
I mean, some things that we don't understand. They tell us, but I don't really understand what we don't understand, because the bottom line is getting thinner. So.
Yeah, I
funny.
mean there are a lot of hidden reasons why sometimes certain things are done, right? There are hidden agendas which is not quite apparent to the employees, at least even sometimes to the management, because
That's what they tell us.
sorry.
That's what they tell us actually. There are some considerations that they don't discuss at mid-manager level. So
Yeah.
they've taken it based on strategic considerations. So that's then we leave it. That would kill it all. So the strategy kills it. So we don't go into that after that.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that could also, I mean, you could say that, but and that at times could be to the detriment of the company, isn't it? It depends whether that decision is quite strategic in nature or not, because at the end of the day, the company is there to make a profit. But well, it could be, it could go the wrong way if we go on spending money on things that are not adding value, which we can get done in a different sense. Say, for example, I become your competitor. I'm not going to purchase these vehicles. I'm going to hire the vehicles, right? Suddenly, my cost base is, I can operate on a very thin cost base, right? I don't have to invest in millions and millions of equipment. right? I could also hire the labor from another company. I don't give them visas. My only thing what I do is I go and market. I can get the things done, ensure the waste is collected, and I ensure that these products, the recycled material, that's manufactured and gets all that sorted out. So suddenly my operating cost becomes quite agile, and I can manage pretty well. Whereas for you to move, it's a very difficult thing because you're not agile, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? So for you to make decisions, for you to enter markets, for you to think of, suddenly for you, certain things may not be very profitable to get into because you have such a huge cost base. And you will come into into a negotiation table saying, well, this is my cost, whereas I can say, well, customer, what's your pricing? Let's work that out, right? I think you're coming into target pricing as well, right? Whereas for you can't operate it if you don't get certain amount of money. Yeah. So this is the ABC process. We looked at the cost pools for support activities. So now it's very clear what these cost pools are. The cost drivers, so what is actually driving the costs, and cost pools for primary activities. Now this becomes quite a debatable thing even when you try to fix it into your chart of accounts, right? Because activity-based costing now again has to link to your chart of accounts, and then because at the end of the day you need to account for it, right?
Yeah.
So this becomes a real nightmare. Have you guys got up to that stage as yet?
No, we didn't reach that stage. No.
Right.
So we just had a preliminary study, and then that dropped off there.
Right. Okay. So you can see activity cost drive rates are calculated as total cost of the activity divided by the cost driver. So the debate will start with what are the cost drivers, right? Because this can become quite sensitive also, because suddenly the departments are trying to protect their areas and basically are quite defensive. And they're trying to justify, this is why my cost needs to be there. This is the reason why my people need to be there, right? So for each activity, they will start jostling for power, why it has to be there. So again, it's a very political thing as well. Any questions?
No.
Right. So you can see the criticisms of ABC more complex, right? Tends to burden low volume new products with right. So if you have low volume products, it's not all that great. So can one cost driver explain the behavior of all items in a cost pool? That's a good question, right? I have a cost driver, but that does not mean this is going to explain everything about that particular cost pool, right? So this is again a debatable point. Do decisions or the passage of time cause costs rather than activities? So even certain costs may change during 2-3 years, right? And then you need to again change your whole system. So you can see it will become a big issue when it comes to setting up these costs and how are you trying to manage it. But of course, the absorption costing also has its own thing, but it is a less complex thing to manage. Anything here that you want me to explain? Because I like to go to some questions.
Let's go to the questions. I think that'll be better.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let us go into some questions. Right. What I'm going to do is give you guys some time to answer these questions, right? So let us go and answer these questions. I'm going to give you, let's say, 7 minutes or so. And let's start now. So 1.1, what did you give? What did you choose, Elaine?
I was in between A or C. I thought both were kind of similar.
Right, okay. And I know that Bensi said A, right?
Yeah, I chose A.
Right. Why didn't you choose C?
I thought C was, I mean, A was more like activity-based management. C described a lot more than that. Maybe it even described something, maybe costing, some aspects of costing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not too sure actually. So.
Right. Any reason why Elaine? Why are you struggling between A and C?
I was similar to sort of Betsy. I was like, I thought one was maybe activity-based costing and one was more the management, and I then got myself going round in circles going, which one?
Right, okay. So let's look at C, right? Activity-based management involves the definition and evaluation of the activity drivers used to trace the cost activities to the cost objects.
Yeah, that's more the costing, isn't it?
It may also involve selecting activity drivers with the potential to contribute to the cost management function. Right, whereas activity-based management uses activity-based cost information for a variety of purposes, including cost reduction, cost modeling, customer profitability analysis.
Yeah, so it's more the information there which goes to the management, isn't it? Whereas C is breaking it down into how it's done.
Yeah. So A is the answer there. It's a bit tricky because all of them look so close to each other, isn't it? And then it's difficult. 1.2?
I got 7.5.
And Elaine?
I got 10.
Right. How did you get 10? Let's see.
I took the number of units that would be produced for each product, which came to 60,000. I think I've done this wrong. I've gone too simplified, and the batch costs, I did the number of units 60,000 divided by 600,000, which gave you 10.
Right, okay.
But I think that's too simplified.
Right, okay. So what was the step 1 that you did, Bensi?
I calculated the number of batches for X, Y, and Z.
Right, and why did you do that?
I tell you the truth, I'm a bit rusty, and that seemed to be the only thing I could do with the numbers. I've done a bit of costing in the past.
So the way I ask you the question, I make you doubt yourself, but that is the right answer.
See, I did that first and came up with a random number.
It just seemed to me the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I've done it so many times in the past. I just wanted to do it again. That's what I did.
Yeah.
See, I started that way, and then I came up with a random number that didn't look right.
Right.
Thought,
okay.
No, So yeah.
So if we
I got 16 batches, and if you divide 600,000 by 16, you get 37,500. And for Y, that's 37,500 into 5. That's a total of 187,500 for setup. Divide that by 25,000, you get 7.5. That's what I did.
the production units.
Yeah, 187,500 of setup costs divided by 25,000 of production units. Yeah, is 7.5.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is the correct one. So the thing is, you're looking at, first you got the number of batches, right? They've given you production units and the batch size as well. So you need to basically there are kind of 3 steps that you need to follow, because you have how many batches.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's my simple addition that I went wrong on the first time. 'Cause
Yeah, I
I've
think you
added up the
started
number of
off
batches and wrong.
you started off correctly and then you doubted yourself, I guess.
Yeah, because I added up the number of batches that I've calculated wrongly.
Yeah. So next time.
And then it gave me a strange number. So
Actually,
yeah.
I had a similar problem there, because when I saw 16, the first thing I thought is 600,000 divisible by 16?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
said let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's try it, and I found 37,500. But without the calculator, I thought this must be wrong.
Right.
Yeah, that's what happened. But
Yeah.
luckily, it was divisible. So
Yeah. I like the way the logic works. Can it be divided? Yeah, it can. Okay, then it's the right one.
we just get a feeling you're going on the right path. When it gets to the decimals, and that especially 6.66.
Yeah,
You think
then you
of-
know you're totally out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. 1.3.
I went with B.
I've gone with B as well.
Yeah. So that's right. And 1.4.
B again.
What about you, Elaine?
I went with, what did I go with? A,
Right.
the overhead recovery.
Right. A world-class manufacturer will have a clear manufacturing strategy aimed at which of the following issues? A clear manufacturing strategy aimed at which of the following issues? Customer satisfaction, flexibility, quality and reliability, overhead recovery. So you said A, which is
Yeah, I went with the overhead recovery.
And Ben C, you went with customer satisfaction.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I chose.
Right. So actually the answer is D. The reason is overhead. If you're looking at this, their strategy should be focused on customer satisfaction, the flexibility of manufacturing, the quality and reliability. Overhead recovery is not my focus, right?
Yeah.
Because if I try to do overhead recovery, customers may run away. Yeah, because my
Yeah.
inefficiency, I'm trying to pass it on to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So in Ben's case, you only chose one. One is all correct, but the other 2 are also there.
That's right. Actually, what I think I messed it up here, because I chose first 1 and 2, customer satisfaction and flexibility, and I went to 3 and I said 3 is the same as 1. So
Right.
it can't be D, but actually it must be D, because 3 is the same as 1, and I should have chosen D.
Right. Yeah.
But in that moment I thought, if it's the same thing, that probably isn't the answer. But since it meant the same thing,
Yeah.
it should have been obvious it was the answer. So yeah.
It's
Mistake.
different meaning. Customer satisfaction is different to quality and reliability.
But doesn't it point to the same direction? So customer satisfaction comes from good quality and reliability, right? So
Yeah, it has to be, the quality reliability has to be there, but then other factors also needs to be there for customer satisfaction.
okay.
Yeah, like after sales service and things like that. right?
Mhm.
1.5.
I chose P.
None of them.
Sorry, no, C. That's
Okay.
the 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. And what about you, Elaine?
C as well.
Yeah, correct. So 1, 2, and 3. Which of the following are problems with JET? There is a risk that stock might become obsolete. No, obviously that's not the thing. 1.6.
I got B.
I B.
Why B?
Because you're aiming at 100% quality product first time, every time, right? So
Yeah.
basically, you don't want QC to come in. It has to take care of itself.
Right. So, which of the following statements represent the ultimate aim of TQM? Eliminate all quality related costs.
That's wrong, isn't it? Because you've got good quality as well as negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what we're talking about is A, because eliminate cost of poor quality.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's A, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense now.
1.7.
No, I didn't do that.
Right, Elaine?
I got customer Y, I thought was more profitable.
It is X, right? There is you need to calculate the revenue, then the discounts.
Yeah.
Right? Did you do that? The revenue?
I did the revenue, then less the discounts for both, and then X had administration costs.
So what's your net revenue?
My net revenue for X was 13,600 after discount, and for Y it was 18,000.
Correct. So did you get that, Bensi, up to that point?
No, I didn't actually.
Why? What happened?
I was first of all I was confused about the list price. The list price is the price that you sell at, or is that the price that you have? It's internal. I'm not sure about that because I got a loss in the first case. 400 units. I mean, multiplied by 40, and then half of that is the cost of goods, and then you have administration and distribution. I got a loss of I don't know, maybe a couple of $1,000. But I got confused. I just left it.
So how did you calculate your revenue for customer X?
It was 400 into 40.
Elaine, how did you calculate?
For customer X,
Yeah.
I had the sale price of 40 times the 400 units, then less 15% of that.
Okay. And Y? The same thing?
The same thing, yeah. The 40 times 5 orders for 100 each, so it's 500, which came to 20,000, and then the deduction of 10%, because each order would have been the 100 units that qualified them for the discount.
So then did you take less cost of items?
I didn't at that point. I worked out the costs for the distribution and administration costs per unit, well, per order, for X and for Y.
Okay, so admin was 200 and transport was 4,000?
Yes, yeah.
Right. And cost of item, how much did you get?
The cost of item, that's where I've gone wrong, because I've taken it off the final value that I calculated. I should have taken it off it.
Because this is where
Of
that
the
markup
20,000. Yeah.
markup
come off it
thing
at 20.
is so to your point, Ben is saying the product has a list price of 40 with a markup of 100%. So that's where the story is. Then we've got, the cost of the item is 20, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they've got number of units sold, and then you get you know how much gain per unit, right? So I think that's where you got confused looking at, okay, now what is this markup story and where is the cost per unit? Am I right?
Yeah. I got confused. I mean, I think I just got overwhelmed with all the data.
Yes. yeah. And I mean, it's normal at the beginning, but then as you go progress, it becomes easier, because the other tricky thing that these guys do is put things in a paragraph form, right?
Yeah, you get lost in the words sometimes, I think. And if they use, like Benzie said, the list price rather than sale price, and you go, right, is that the actual?
Yeah.
You doubt yourself, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
And if you just say, okay, now if you take a piece of paper and write on the side, say, right, what is the price, how much, just simple, in just short phrases, this is what it is, without reading it 50 times, then suddenly everything makes sense.
Yeah, if you take the numbers and remove the
Yes.
words almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what you should be doing. So that's a trick, these guys try to, because remember, it's less than 2 minutes, right, for each one of these.
Yeah.
So it can't be anything confusing. It can't be very complex. It has to be something simple. So take those words away, make it very simple in a piece of paper. Right, 1.8.
B. I got B.
Okay, and you, Elaine?
I got totally lost because I went the manufacturing cost hierarchy and that threw me.
Right, okay.
I just thought, I don't know what that is.
Actually, it is A.
It's A?
Yes. Right.
Oh, no.
So what we need to do here for homework, just look at what manufacturing cost hierarchy is.
Yeah.
Right. So
'Cause
that's a definition.
I did take a stab at A because I thought the manufacturing and equipment maintenance goes in to keep it flowing, sort of thing. If it keeps the product being produced if you maintain it. So I don't know.
Yeah. So we need to, because at this level, what they're checking is whether you know your definitions as well. So that, because they're looking for, if you know these words, manufacturing cost hierarchy. So just get kind of read that little bit. 1.9.
I took C.
And Elaine?
C as well.
Right. The answer is D. The theory of constraints is an approach to production management which aim to maximize sales revenue less. Again, a definition, right? So read up on. So what I would suggest is read manufacturing cost hierarchy and do a small note in your own words. What is manufacturing hierarchy? Then again, look at theory of constraints. Do a small paragraph on what is theory of constraint. You have to write it actually, right? Because that will make you remember. And 1.10.
I choose D and E.
And Elaine?
I had C.
Right. Why did you choose D and E?
It's Kaizen means continuous improvement, right? So I thought cost reduction was more apt than cost control, so I chose that. And then employees are supposed to be the 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 the, the resource that helps you out of this. Not is I just thought from what I heard that they're not viewed as the cause of problems.
And what about you, Elaine? You chose C.
Yeah, which I've gone wrong because C does relate to Kaizen.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but yeah,
So the
I know
correct
that's wrong
answer
when I see
is D and E.
D.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would ask you to do for next time is let me look at this one, because do you think these questions helped you?
Well, it helped me. It helped me understand that I'm far away from where I should be. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Some of these look so obvious, but if this is the kind of questioning that's going to be, I haven't done a test like this
Yeah.
for P2. So if this is the type, then I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's helpful to see, and my sort of problem is I tend to panic a bit in exam and start doubting myself, and I know that I'm realizing in that, was it 2 minutes per question, I'm going to have to be a lot more decisive and go with gut really and stop circling round to the answer I've got.
Yeah, because try avoid debating with yourself
Yeah.
for a long time, because it's as soon as, because this is the reason why when you look at something, for example, which of two of the following statements do not relate to Kaizen costing, you should know what Kaizen costing is,
Yeah.
right? So and you shouldn't be spending more than 2 minutes, because you will then lose time and the opportunity to earn marks with others, because if you go on thinking about it too much, it's not worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the key. And the next what we will do is go through questions for you, but the next class. But what I will want you to do is, now in this area, is there anything that you're not there you go, manufacturing cost hierarchy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why we are doing certain questions is now you are getting, because initially you don't know where to focus on, right? Now there are certain words that the examiner is looking for, and then you can look at, you can focus on those and say, right, this is this manufacturing cost hierarchy they're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
It's learning to sort of break down the question, I think.
Yes.
To pick out that key word or that key thing that
Yeah.
gives you the hint for what it is.
Yeah. Customer profitability analysis, right, and the ABC. Sorry.
The card before this one, it had the format for the question. I got overwhelmed with that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Revenues at price. This one, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah, something like this. I think yeah. Sort of, yeah.
It's not. This was not specific to a particular customer, but it was somewhat like that. But the trick is, as I mentioned, don't look at it too much. As soon as you see numbers, go and write it in a piece of paper, like in rough paper, where you can understand it better, without those words. Total quality management, we looked at that. And TQM a little bit more. So cost of quality, this I have seen as well. What are the 4 key areas of cost of quality: prevention, appraisal, internal and external failures, right? So basically they're trying to figure out what areas you're spending most amount of money, right? But it has been separated in this way so that it's easy for you to identify where you're focusing mostly, right?
Yeah.
And Kaizen costing, there you go. And continuous improvement, we looked at JIT, and theory of constraints, you had that, right? So what do you think theory of constraint is actually? What does it mean?
To identify the single most important factor that's a constraint in your production, and to build your production around it, actually, to optimize everything else and to maximize production around that constraint.
Right. Okay, so in your work, is there something that you can give an example? Or even if it's not in your work, some other example that you can think of?
Well, I can. Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
think
Go
the
ahead.
sorry, I think the standard example, sort of the manufacturing, where you have the process going, and then it comes to a certain point where, say, there's maybe only 2 members of staff there that can process 10 units an hour, but the other points in the process are producing a higher number, and it's coming there, and they've got 100 units coming in, but they can't get that 100 out at the same rate. So there's no point in producing the 100 to sit there for days on end until that segment can do it. The process might take longer there, or there's just not the staff to complete the task.
Right. Okay. So your the binding constraint would be either what you're saying is staff, right? In this case,
Yeah.
I don't have enough staff to complete
Man-hours,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So an approach to production management which aims to maximize sales revenue, less material and variable costs. Okay, that's logical, right? I mean, anything that's what you want, increase, and there is a specific word for that. What do you think? What is that? Sales minus variable costs. What do you call that? Do you remember? It comes in break-even analysis. Do you remember that? Contribution? Right? But they're looking at the variable overhead cost here as well. Right? It focuses on factors which act as constraints to its maximization. So yeah, it could be either a machine, or either, like you said, Elaine, it could be labor as well, right? Yeah, what is the constraint? And throughput accounting? Any ideas? How do you explain this one? So this particular example actually is an easier way of looking at it, isn't it? If you look at this example, it shows that what is throughput accounting is talking about. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Okay, that's why you guys were very silent. Yeah, suddenly it went. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
through.
can hear you now.
Yeah, I didn't hear you at all. Can you hear me now? Right, something happened there. Can you hear me now? There's something really weird going
Yes,
on.
yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, what do you think throughput accounting is?
Uh,
So, actually, if you look at the example, it's an easier way of looking, getting the understanding. Right. What is the constraint? Again, what is the what is creating that bottleneck? Right. So they're looking at why is throughput accounting different, because it differs from other accounting system because it emphasizes on the throughput, right? It looks at the cost control, it looks at minimization. And remember, this is not your normal accounting, right? It's your management accounting. So I think the first thing is we try to figure out what is this throughput accounting. We've never done this kind of thing, right? So it becomes quite confusing. But if you look at it, is from a management accountant point of view, they're looking at, again, what are the things that's creating the bottlenecks. Right, they are looking at how can I increase certain, like for example, if I say I want to increase the number of insurance sales, like in this case you're talking about like even in a bank, right? I want to increase the number of new applicants, new accounts, but to have those new accounts, then we need to ensure that we have all the supporting staff ready to take them on, right? I remember this is a classic one for throughput accounting. In Australia, where we had a sale with Jetstar. So they said on a particular day, they're going to have $1 sales, right, across Australia. So you can imagine what happened, right? On the day of the sale, that time, everybody, I think all the 22 million jumped on the website. They didn't expect this. And what happened is they couldn't that the servers couldn't sustain the volume and just crashed. Right. So you can come up with all kinds of promotions and things like that, but you should be all your support services should be ready to take that on, isn't it? And this is where the throughput accounting focuses on that. It's saying, right, if I'm going to increase certain thing, what are the other factors that you need to consider that may not cause a bottleneck in the system? Is that clear?
Yeah, Anju, I'm just looking at this card here that says the most appropriate financial objectives to set is therefore maximization of throughput, sales revenue less direct material cost. Wasn't that one of the questions
Yes.
that we just went through?
Yeah.
And I chose this option, but it was not right.
See,
Wasn't it?
You looked at theory of constraints.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, right. That's
Okay.
different.
That was very similar. Theory of constraint and throughput is different.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a good point, but I'm glad you asked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, yeah. All right.
So throughput accounting is something even I couldn't figure this out, right? Because it was very difficult at that time for me to understand what this throughput story is all about. But if you look at, scaling up something, what are our issues that we will face? That's where there would be bottlenecks. That's what we need to focus on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's look at business. So what I would like you to do is target costing, value analysis, and value chain. These are the 3 areas for techniques for enhancing long-term profits, right?
Yeah.
Just make some short notes on these 3 areas. And if you got any, go into CIMA, right, our CIMA site, put in target costing and look for any articles, value analysis, value chain as well, right? I want you to make some notes on this because we will get into questions the next session.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that way you will understand what value chain is, what value analysis is, and the target costing, the concepts behind it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So you're happy with the... Right. What I'm going to do is end today's class with this topic and giving you the homework to do. And we will start the next class with questions. First with the discussion of this, and then the questions. All right?
Okay.
All right. Okay then. See you next time. Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you.